Turkey is about to slice its largest city in half, creating an artificial island out of Istanbul, a metropolis of nearly 16 million people. This single construction project could reshape global naval power, challenge decades-old international treaties, and potentially spark tensions between nuclear superpowers. We're talking about Turkey's Istanbul Canal, a waterway that promises to turn the ancient city of Istanbul into an island while fundamentally altering who controls access to one of Earth's most strategically important bodies of water, the Black Sea. The stakes are enormous, the controversy is fierce, and the construction is already underway. But could this man-made canal give Turkey unprecedented control over international trade routes? And might it trigger a power struggle that pulls rival nations into direct confrontation? Today, we examine the Istanbul Canal, a project that could redefine geopolitics in one of the most contested regions on Earth. To understand why Turkey's new canal matters so much, we need to talk about the Bosphorus Strait. This narrow waterway, just 700 meters wide at its narrowest point, controls the only sea route between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. For comparison, that's less than half a mile wide. The Bosphorus handles more than 43,000 ships every year, making it roughly twice as busy as the Suez Canal, despite being far narrower and far more dangerous to navigate. Ships routinely wait 14 hours just to pass through, and sometimes the backup extends for days. But here's what makes this strait truly unique. It runs through the heart of Istanbul, a city of 16 million people. Every day, massive oil tankers carrying Russian crude and cargo vessels loaded with dangerous chemicals squeeze through this urban waterway. One accident could be catastrophic. Remember Beirut in 2020? Now imagine that in Istanbul. For Russia, access through the Bosphorus is non-negotiable. Russia's warm water Black Sea ports are its lifeline for oil exports and naval protection. Without it, their Black Sea fleet has no path to wider oceans. And it's not just Russia. Ukraine depends on it to export grain, Georgia and Romania use it to connect to world markets, and Bulgaria's economy also leans heavily on this lifeline. For all of them, the Bosphorus isn't just a strait, it's survival. This brings us to the Montreux Convention of 1936, a treaty that continues to shape global naval power nearly 9 decades later. Signed just before World War II, this agreement gives Turkey control over the Bosphorus, but with strict limitations. Here's how it works. Civilian ships can pass freely, but warships face serious restrictions. Non-Black Sea countries like the United States can only send a maximum of 9 warships in total through the straits at once, with a combined tonnage cap of 15,000 tons. That means, at most, 1 or 2 modern destroyers could legally pass, making sustained American presence in the Black Sea almost impossible. Aircraft carriers are explicitly banned. The treaty prohibits ships designed mainly to carry aircraft, though Russia famously sidestepped this by calling its Admiral Kuznetsov an aircraft-carrying cruiser. For NATO, however, the rulebook blocks American supercarriers entirely. But here's the catch that has frustrated Turkey for decades. They can't charge tolls. The Montreux Convention guarantees free passage for all civilian vessels. Turkey sits on one of the world's most valuable shipping lanes and makes $0 from it. Meanwhile, countries like Egypt collect over $6 billion annually from Suez Canal tolls. This is where Turkey's Istanbul Canal project comes in. President Erdogan calls it his crazy project. And maybe that's exactly what it is. The plan is audacious. Build a completely artificial waterway 45 kilometers long, running parallel to the Bosphorus. The canal will be 25 meters deep and between 400 to 1,000 meters wide. 6 massive bridges will span across it, turning Istanbul into an artificial island. When complete, it should handle 160 ships per day, matching current Bosphorus traffic. Construction officially began in June 2021, with the Salzadera Bridge groundbreaking ceremony. The bridge's twin towers now rise over 90 meters, and the total project is expected to cost $25 billion and take 7 years to complete, with operations beginning in 2027. But Turkey's official reasons for building the canal focus on safety and congestion relief. They argue that dangerous cargo should be diverted away from Istanbul's city centre, and that shipping delays cost the global economy billions annually. These are valid concerns, but they don't tell the whole story. Turkey argues that the Montreux Convention only applies to the natural Bosphorus Strait, not to any artificial canal they might build. In January 2018, Turkish Prime Minister Binali Yildirim officially announced that the Istanbul Canal would not be subject to the Montreux Convention. If Turkey is right, this changes everything. They could charge whatever tolls they want on the new canal. More importantly, they could allow American aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines to pass through for the first time ever. It would also free Turkey's own navy from Montreux limits, allowing them to project more power flexibly into the Mediterranean and beyond. Imagine US carrier strike groups operating in the Black Sea, right off the coast of Russia, Ukraine, and Crimea. For Russia, this represents their worst strategic nightmare: American naval power projecting directly into their backyard. Turkey claims the canal could generate up to $8 billion annually in tolls, but most independent analysts call this widely optimistic. Unless Turkey somehow forces traffic away from the free Bosphorus, it's unlikely revenues would ever match Suez Canal levels. But will ships actually use the paid canal when the free Bosphorus is still available? Turkey's solution is clever but controversial. They plan to make Bosphorus inspections increasingly slow and bureaucratic while offering express service through their canal. It's essentially creating artificial delays to encourage paid usage. Not everyone is excited about this project. Istanbul's metropolitan government strongly opposes the canal, filing multiple lawsuits claiming it violates environmental laws. Critics argue the canal will destroy Istanbul's groundwater, eliminating a major drinking water reservoir, and potentially worsen earthquake risks in a seismically active region. Financing is another major uncertainty. With costs projected at $25 billion, Turkey has struggled to secure international investors. China and Qatar have expressed interest in principle, but so far no concrete commitments exist, raising doubts about whether Turkey can fund the project without straining its already fragile economy. Environmental impact assessments show the canal will pass through ecologically sensitive areas, destroying forests and contaminating water supplies. The project requires relocating thousands of residents and demolishing historical sites. There's also the uncomfortable fact that some land along the canal route is owned by members of Qatar's royal family and by Barat al-Bayrak, Erdogan's son-in-law and former finance minister. Critics see this as potential cronyism, where the president's family could profit enormously from the project. Opinion polls show that 77.1% of Istanbul residents oppose the canal, with only 8% supporting it. Even within Turkey's military establishment, there's resistance. In April 2021, 103 retired Turkish admirals signed an open letter opposing the project, arguing that bypassing Montreux could destabilize the Black Sea and expose Turkey to future conflicts. The government's response was swift. 10 of these admirals were arrested the next day. International lawyers also debate whether Montreux might still apply to any Turkish waterway connecting the Black Sea and Mediterranean, natural or artificial. If that interpretation gains traction, Turkey's claim of total freedom over the new canal could collapse in court. From Moscow's perspective, the Istanbul Canal represents an existential threat to its Black Sea dominance. Currently, the Montreux Convention works heavily in Russia's favor. Russian warships can transit freely as a Black Sea nation, while NATO forces face severe restrictions. The canal could flip this advantage completely. US aircraft carriers in the Black Sea would fundamentally alter the military balance, especially given ongoing tensions over Ukraine and Crimea. Russia could find its most important naval fleet under constant American surveillance and potential threat. Russia argues that Montreux should still apply to any new waterway, meaning Turkey couldn't charge tolls or allow unrestricted NATO access. This legal interpretation could trigger a major international dispute if the canal opens. Given Russia's military involvement in Ukraine and its broader confrontation with NATO, it views the canal as a direct challenge to its regional security. This could seriously strain Turkish-Russian relations, which have been complex but generally cooperative in recent years. Despite all the controversy, the project moves forward. As of 2025, housing developments are rapidly expanding around the canal route, with nearly 28,000 new homes nearing completion in Arnavutköy alone. The government has sold billions of dollars worth of land along the projected route. Despite government announcements, actual canal excavation hasn't started. The only visible progress so far is the Sazlıdere Bridge, while housing developments along the projected route advance quickly. This has fueled skepticism that the 2027 opening target is realistic. Turkey is also developing the areas around the canal into a new Istanbul, complete with luxury housing, artificial islands, and even an opera house. They envision this becoming a major tourist destination and economic hub. Any disruption could hit the economies of Black Sea states hard. China has shown interest in alternative routes, potentially working with Serbia and Greece to build their own canal connecting the Aegean directly to the Danube River. If Turkey charges excessive tolls, other nations might pursue competing projects. For the United States and NATO, the canal represents a potential strategic windfall. Breaking Russia's effective control over Black Sea access could be worth far more than the project's $25 billion cost. However, it also risks escalating tensions in an already volatile region. What we're witnessing here is something remarkable, a single construction project that could fundamentally alter global naval geography. The Bosphorus has controlled access to the Black Sea for thousands of years. The Istanbul Canal could change that permanent reality. This isn't just about Turkey making money from ship tolls or reducing traffic congestion. It's about reshaping the strategic balance between NATO and Russia, potentially ending Russian naval dominance in the Black Sea, and creating new routes for global commerce. Whether this ambitious vision becomes reality remains to be seen. The canal faces enormous technical, environmental, financial, and political challenges. International legal disputes over Montreux could delay or complicate operations, even if construction completes on schedule. The canal embodies Turkey's broader ambition to leverage its geography into true geopolitical power. If it succeeds, this won't just change Istanbul's skyline. It could be remembered as one of the most consequential infrastructure projects of the century. So if the Istanbul Canal really does open the Black Sea to new naval powers, will it secure Turkey's rise or spark the next great power conflict? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most ambitious projects.